Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Living Astrology with Janet. It's time to grab your cup of coffee or your tea, sit back and relax so we can chat about what is happening up in the stars above for the weekend. Yay! This is one of those weeks where I'm very happy to say it's Friday, right? That the weekend is here. I feel like I have just been running, doing, literally for this entire month. And that I'm really ready just to not have to do any one thing, right? Just to relax. And I'm hoping that this is the weekend, although we do have another birthday party this month or this weekend to have to deal with, but it's always fun. Hopefully everybody is doing well this morning. And for those of you who tuned in yesterday to the Aries Ingress webinar, you heard tons of information, some of which is, looking pretty far down into the future and yet very apropos for the things that are happening on the planet in the USA right now, right here, and help us to see, what it is that we want to do next, or what are the next steps that we're going to be taking, or what will be available for us to be working with as we go into this new year. So, today, what I wanted to talk about is the human design energies that are sitting at the gate 25, the sun at the gate of spirit, and the earth at the gate 46, which is called the gate of embodiment or love of the physical body. Sometimes you'll hear it in the traditional human design. And there's something important in these gates that I want everybody to understand, and that is the equinoxes and the solstices all occur at these gates of love. And the solstice, will be at a different set of gates. Then the equinox will be at the same set of gates that we're at now, but they'll be reversed. And then the winter solstice will be at the same gates of the summer solstice, but reversed. And those, four sets of gates become very important in the story or the storyline of our human design and what we experience. And then as well, so we're going to dive into that more. So I just gave you the quick rundown on that one. And then as well, we have three aspect patterns happening, or three transit patterns happening this weekend. Of note, two of them are Venus oriented. Venus retrograde in Aries today, actually in a sextile to Pluto in Aquarius. And then tomorrow, a Venus retrograde conjunct the sun, which is a conjunction that we call cazimi. Anytime a planet comes that close to the sun, it is what we say cazimi. And there's something extraordinary about this because it's the beginning of an a Venus cycle. Uh, the conjunction of the inner planets to the sun always sort of signal a new beginning. And even though that happens when they're in retrograde, and that's the start of the cycle. And that calls for Venus to move today into what is called the part of her cycle called inception. And it's also noted on your Pleiadian-Earth calendar, if you have one. You'll notice over here on the 22nd. Here we go. Today or tomorrow, you see the two stars. That's the Aries star or the Venus star changing into Aries, and this noting a phase change for the planet. And we see that, of course, in the astrology, in the Pleiadian calendar, and so forth. And then also this weekend, there is a sun sextiling Pluto that we're going to be talking about. So it's maybe not as intense as some things that have been going on astrologically, but it seems to be building on what has already gone on before. So we have a lot to talk about. It'll be a good day to have both your charts. If you have your human design chart and your astrology chart, then you'll get a better read on what this is doing for you or how it impacts you. And again, if any of you out there listening do not have your astrology or human design chart, just email me, Janet at living-astrology.com, to let me know that, and I will make sure you get a copy of it. So let's say good morning real quickly to people who are popping in. Of course, I saw Diana first. Good morning to you, Diana. Good morning to Pam Z, Debbie Tibbetts Tumiel, Joan. Good morning from west of me. And Peggy Ann, good morning to you. Amanda J, good morning. And Christine Buckingham, good morning. And glad to have you with me this morning. Today, let's start with the human design, shall we? And I think I'm going to share my screen and take a look at where this is happening in your human design. So here is a human design chart. Of course, it doesn't have all the markings that yours would have because I just want to specifically look at these two gates. And I want to look at this center. This is called the G center. Sometimes we, call it the identity. Well, it's identity center. I'd rather call it that than the G center because the G center doesn't make sense to many people, right? It's the gravity center. Essentially, this is the center that is for love and direction. It is a bit of a magnet here, right? And it is the seat of the soul. And the nature of this magnet, called the identity center, is it's one way. It can only attract, right? So it attracts to you the people, the circumstances, the opportunities that are aligned with your soul, right? They're soul choices, I guess you could say, but it has an attractive force to it. And because it is also a magnetic sort of center, it gives us direction. And it can either be defined, like this is a picture of what a defined center might look like, except let's give it an outlet over here. Whoops, boop, boom, there. So this would truly make both of these centers turn on. In the case of a transit, of course, it might turn something on in your chart or not, depending on how it is that your chart is set up. And it's an interesting place right now because the gate that the sun is sitting at today is also the gate where Neptune is sitting now, and it is called the gate of spirit. Sorry about that. And this is where these gates of love are sitting at the equinoxes and the solstices. This pair at the sun at 25 and earth at 46 is called the love of spirit and the love of the physical body, or the love of the human body. And it really speaks to a moment of perfect balance, a beautiful reminder that our spiritual essence and our physical form are meant to be united, right? Being in the same, unit. So the gate 25 is a gate that's activated by the sun and by Neptune. So even though this gate is only activated through the 23rd, so through Sunday, it will still be activated even after that because Neptune is sitting here for the rest of the year. So we have a long-term transit of us remembering or needing to remember that we are spirit and that we are human, so that we are divine and that we are physical. And the gate represents universal love and innocence and the spiritual core of our being, the gate 25 here. And it's not about belief systems, though. So it's more about direct, unconditional connection to life and to love, not a connection to religion or any kind of belief system, although our myths and our beliefs and our religions sometimes talk about love. This gate is purely the essence of the being of unconditional love and connection. And when the sun sits here at this gate, we're invited to surrender the ego and align with something greater, seeing ourselves beyond just the mere mortals that we, tend to think that we are here while we're on the planet. And then if we look at the gate 46, this is the embodiment, and this is where Earth is sitting. So the Earth and Sun make up a pair of gates that are very important in the whole scheme of human design. And this gate asks us to be in presence, to stay in our presence, to ground in our presence. And it brings synchronicity and sacredness of being in the body, being grounded in the body, so that we don't miss the signs, the symbols, the beauty around us. It's about being in the right place at the right time, for the right opportunities, for the right meetups, for the right information, and trusting that the body's wisdom will always put us in the right place at the right time, and honoring the journey, right? The journey of the physical body through the space of Earth. Now, at the equinox, this brings up a special message for us. It reminds us that spirit and matter are not separate, they're together, right? This is one thing. They're partners, right? Side by sides. And the more we return to innocence in the gate 25, the more we trust life to carry us through this, the body to carry us through, to be in the right place at the right time with the right people. And it's a beautiful way to begin the new astrological year. And by the way, every year at this time is when the sun and earth are sitting in these gates. It kind of reminds me of being a reset time, right? Of being in a reset moment. And just, oh, by the by, I want you to notice that the 46 connects down here to the 29. So some of you may have the 29 defined, and this is the gate of saying yes. The 29 is being committed, right? Rather than half hearted in our commitments, truly being committed. And I always think it's interesting to take the physical body and match it with the ability to say the right things, or be saying yes to the right things for us, and not saying yes to everything, or not saying no to everything either. I'm not saying that's true either. I'm saying say yes to the right things, and the right things are all built upon your type and your strategy. And if you don't know what that means, it's time for you to have a human design reading with me. Now, if we go over here to this side, the gate 51 would be the matchup to the 25, and it then forms this channel of initiation. It is a very shamanic sort of energy when this channel is defined. It prods us to be initiated into something, right? Into a more higher spiritual concept, seeing ourselves as something, as a part of a grander plan, always grounding in unconditional love, in purity, in innocence. But often that comes with shock from the gate 51, because we're kind of stubborn as humans, right? We don't always just choose to move to our higher selves. Often it's some kind of life challenge that forces us there. And notice how we all react when somebody dies in our family, or when somebody falls ill, or when something of major shock happens in the outer world. It's a time where we pull together, where we look to God or source or higher self for guidance. And what the reminder here is that this is accessible to you at all times, right? Not just in the midst of a trauma, a drama, or some kind of shock. So we are, being asked to return to some form of awakening, and becoming more open-hearted and more centered in that open heart. All right, I'm going to stop sharing for a minute. This prompts me to think about some questions we might ask ourselves about what human design might be bringing us to this week, and sort of in the picturing of all the aspects that are going on. The sun moved into Aries, and Venus retrograde and Mercury retrograde also in Aries. We're in between the eclipse windows right now, and all of these things, right? Building, building, building. And where in your life are you being asked to return to innocence and open heartedness, right? Where have you gotten too jaded? Where have you gotten too disturbed or too depressed to really see things clearly? And then another question: how can you honor your body as the sacred vessel of your spirit? That's a biggie, right? Rather than beating up your body, or, you know, taking in so much toxins that your body is always having to work to kind of clear it out. Um, Thinking of your body as the sacred vessel, the carrier of your spirit. And are you trusting life to place you exactly where you need to be, no matter what it is that's going on? Trusting that this is where you're meant to be for the experience that you're taking in. And then from that space, you can choose, what is it that you want to do in response, right? Do you want to go in a different direction, or do you want to move over here, or go up there? What do you want to do, right? What do you want to do? So, um, let's take a look at why the gates of love at the equinoxes and the solstices, because this is a grand design. This isn't, just by chance that these gates happen to be impacted on the solstices and on the equinoxes. There is a basic plan that's going on. And it has to do with different quarters of the year. And each quarter of the year has a specific sort of theme that it's carrying forth, or that things will develop throughout the course. And we're at this very beginning point, the equinox, the spring equinox, at least here for the northern hemisphere. Uh, let's call it the zero Aries point instead, because it's even active if you're in Australia or in, below the equator. And it begins with this quarter of initiation. And that's when the sun is at the gate 25, like it is now, right? And this is a very mind oriented time, even though the center itself isn't about the mind. But this is where, in the mind, we begin to form intentions, or we begin to form ideas about where it is we would want to go, or who we would want to be with, or what it is that we would want to do. And then that's followed by the June solstice, where we go into the quarter of civilization, which is where form is. So out of the mind begins as we take action, and as we, follow our passions, things begin to form. So that quarter is about the real, building of something. And then we go into the quarter of duality, which would be for us here the autumnal equinox. And that begins when the sun is at the gate 46, right? Right now it's at the 25. Earth is at 46. At the autumn, the sun goes into the 46 and the earth into the 25. And that becomes a time of bonding and relationship, where we take what we began in the autumn, or I mean, excuse me, in the spring equinox, and we bring it to our connections, right, to community, or to one another, to our relationships. And then the final quarter of the human design year is the quarter of mutation, and that begins at the winter solstice, and it is the cycle of transformation. So each quarter has, a purpose, right? And these gates of love that are at that time show us what it is that we are developing. And by the way, at the solstices, the gates of love are the gate of self love and the gate of the love of humanity, or the love of compassion. So the solstices are about humanity and compassion and self love. And the equinoxes are about what it is that we do as a human body housing a divine being, and all that that entails as we, go through as the year unfolds. So, why it matters spiritually and cosmically is that the gates of love really represent different aspects of love, right? Not all love is the same, right? There's lots of different kinds of love. I think it was the Greeks that had, like, I don't know, 15 different words for love. And the gates of love represent these different aspects. So the gate 25, where the sun is today, is the universal unconditional kind of love. It is big love, right? It is the love that we feel when we let go of all the judgments that we have, all the experiences that we have, when forgiveness and gratitude are in place. And then at the summer solstice, when we get to the gate 15, it's the love of humanity, the love of the rhythm, and the love of diversity. So rhythm, right? Because we see, that from the spring planting, things begin to blossom and come to for fruition, right? They're growing, and it becomes very, at least northern hemisphere here, it's becoming green and, very luscious in, the plant world anyway. And then we get to the gate 46 at the autumn equinox, and that is the love of the body and being in the physical world. It's the time of harvest. We begin to reap the benefits of all of the seeds that were planted in the spring and that grew through the summer and are harvested in that 3-month period. just loving being on, planet Earth. And then the winter solstice comes up with the gate of self-love, because this is about self-empowerment. This is the time of the year that we go inside and we, take a look at how we are doing and how far we have come, and can we love ourselves more. And this gate reminds us that, we are our own lovers, if you will, and that our whole idea of love has to be built on loving ourselves first, right? So at that solstice time, we get a time for, doing some very internal work, transforming places in our lives that aren't yet set. And then, that we, haven't yet healed. Perhaps it's a very healing quarter, I would say. But it is also another indicator of why it is that January 1st is not the logical place for a new year, right? But March 20th is, because that's when the sun, and even in the human design cycle, we begin at these gates of love and we start the round of the year. So, these gates are the foundation points then of the cosmic year. And the Earth Sun alignments at the solstices and the equinoxes literally move us through this journey of love in all its forms on this planet, right? So it's at this, it's as if the structure of time and the seasons are rooted in love. And we're not evolving just through mental development, but through an ongoing refinement of the embodiment of love in self, in body, through others, and through the cosmos, right? Universal selfhood and all of the connections that we make with others on the planet. So you could say that the wheel of the year through human design, through many other ways we could look at it as well, is a spiral of love, right? It's just spiraling, and then the spiral moves back up on itself. And we're being reattuned, if you will, to love. And I can tell you that this gate 25, especially, is very difficult when you see a very unloving world around you, and or unloving people being unloving to one another, right? Uh, of Course in Miracles would say that all of that stuff is a call for more love, right? That when people are misbehaving or being ugly, that they're really calling for more love. And that kind of turns the whole idea of love upside down, I think, because, sometimes, we know this when, we are raising children, that sometimes they're misbehaving, and just giving them, some love, putting them on your lap and hugging them, can make all the difference in their attitude, right? But, how do you take someone that's being ugly in the outer world and bring more love to them? That's kind of a challenge, one that rightly belongs here with you, bringing yourself more love so that there's more love moving from you outward to the world as well. So, this March gate is the spirit and embodiment, right? So we're joining those two. In June, it's humanity and self-love. In September, it's embodiment and spirit. So we reverse that, right? And in December, it is self-love and collective love. So, and these seasonal shifts anchor in the mutation of our consciousness throughout the year, because mutation is another word for change, is another word for transformation. And it goes right through the G center, the identity center, right through the center of who you are, the seat of identity, and the seat of soul direction, giving us direction on what we're here to do and where it is that we're here to go. All right, questions about that? Let me see how everybody's doing here. Good morning to Tara Messner. Good to have you with us. And Robin, good morning to you. She's from Rhode Island. Glad to have you with us. TJ, Patty, took 10 minutes to get you on Facebook. I don't know. Maybe that's something going on Facebook. J-Lo, good morning to you. She's watching on 2x speed to catch up. Am I talking really fast? Am I talking really fast? Tom, happy new year, Astro family. It's good to have you with us, Tom. J-Lo says her personality moon is at 46, her design midheaven at 46, and 25 is the IC. So you have a lot of that love energy. Anybody born around an equinox or solstice will have those gates in their design. I have the design sun at 25 and my design earth at 46 because I'm born right around the summer solstice. I have that opposite, right, going on. Tom, I believe you actually have the 10 and the 15. It's actually the 15 and the 10 and your sun and your earth, I would bet. So we all, have likely have something around those gates in our charts. And even if those gates are open in your charts, they are now defined. So it brings those themes of love to you, right? Love of spirit, love of body into your experience. Good morning, TD Hawk. And JLo says, Happy New Year. Londa, great to have you with us. Equinox is a spiritual spring cleaning, cleansing with love. Ooh, I love that. Love you more. We were married on March 20th, 44 years ago. I saw that. Happy anniversary to you and your husband. It's amazing, right? To be with one person for that long. And Tom says 15 and 10. We have a bingo. Woohoo! All right. If you guys end up having questions about that against your own chart, perhaps remember I don't have your chart visually, so you have to give me the details like JLo does, design MC at 46 or something like that, so I can help you understand it. Now, let's go into the transits that are occurring in the astrology of the day. Today is Venus retrograde in a sextile to Pluto in Aquarius. And this is about courageous heart power. I didn't know what else to call it because we have this Venus retrograde in Aries. There's courage with that kind of placement, but it's also in retrograde, so it takes it internal. So courageous heart power, bringing that together. And we're really able at this time with this kind of a transit to shed our old skins in love and worth and desire as we step into something new, right? As we step into an era of personal sovereignty that also includes love of self, love of others, love of spirit, and love of the physical realm, right? Or being in the body. So it is an extraordinary kind of day. It also is, a beginning to another Venus transit tomorrow. So they're building on one another. And at this point, Venus is retrograde in Aries and she's retracing her steps, right? She's gone up to the 10th degree in Aries and now she's backtracking. And soon, I think it's next week, she will backtrack into Pisces. So she's stepping into her bold, independent Aries self. And this is a sign that amplifies themes around self worth, identity in relationships, and passion, right? What do I love to do or who do I love to be? And the retrograde is more than a romantic view. We think sometimes Venus about relationships and love and romance, but it's really a fiery reawakening of who and what it is that you're going to be in the world, what you want to do in the world, and what you're really willing to fight for when it comes time to fight for your values and your desires and your sovereignty. You can almost see the buildup of this in the outer world as seemingly things are being changed sometimes without our permission, and then even in the fight for it, in the fight against it or in the fight to change things, we run into resistance. So again, this is really all about really getting clarity on what it is you value and what is worthwhile for fighting for yourself, for your family, your community, for others, right? And Pluto in Aquarius, we've talked a lot about Pluto yesterday in Aquarius and how his journey through Aquarius is an awakening, a reshaping even of the collective and technology and power structures and group dynamics. And as Venus connects to Pluto, then during the retrograde here, it's a supportive sextile, right? A sextile is a 60-degree relationship. They speak the same language, right? Pluto's all in support of personal sovereignty, as Venus is all in support of this transition to a more independent and self sufficient selfhood, right? And there is a chance here to reclaim your personal power, especially in your creativity, in love, in money. Venus does rule money, but in a way, it's also aligning to the future focused, soul aligned values that we have. And future focus because Aquarius is ruled by Saturn, who rules time. But in Aquarius, it's time as we go forward, it's time into the future. Where in Capricorn, it was more about the past or the traditional, right? We're looking at what's non traditional, what's unconventional, and how do we kind of harness that unconventionality for use with our values and in our relationships, etc. Now the harmonious aspect between, the 2 planets, creates maybe inner transformation with Pluto and a personal values, relationship kind of transformation with Venus involved. This is subtle but potent, and it's an opportunity, to take action on something that reflects who you are becoming, not who you've been, right? Who you've been is part of the foundation. You can choose to, change that. You can't change the past, but you can change who you want to be moving forward, right? That's the idea. So consider it a threshold moment, right? A chance to let go of the outdated of relational patterns or the outdated self-worth patterns, outdated beliefs that you have about yourself and what you're capable of, and claim something truer, right? Something more in alignment with your being a divine being in a human experience, right? Now, the ties to this Aries season and the equinox, with the sun newly in Aries, just as of yesterday, we're in initiatory fire energy. We're in the new beginnings of this fire. Fresh starts, bold moves, and personal will are rising to the surface, right? And with Venus and Pluto, um, they're coming together in this relationship just as this shift is happening. I mean, you could even say that yesterday they were close enough even to have been a part of the equinox, which means that it has more bang for its buck than what we think of just on the superficial level, right? This might have more time, more legs to it as we go forward. And it is an anchoring time, anchoring the Aries fire into your soul, making it a part of your truth. Rather than reactive ego, it's about being truly independent and truly stepping up and into who it is that you want to be. What desires do you have, to that you want to create? What self concepts need to be burned down because they're not helping you anymore? And what needs to be reborn, right? This is a part of a bigger cycle that's going on. So, where are you being invited to claim your power? In love or in creative expression or in the world of money? Where is Aries in your natal chart? Because that's another way to look at this. Aries and Aquarius, they are both being activated here. What old patterns are you releasing, right? Where's an old money pattern, an old self-worth pattern no longer true for you? And how do you move beyond it? And how do you align your desire with your soul's evolution? And or are you just clinging, for comfort to the old? Because the way that you align with your desire and move forward is to actually take steps. You can't stay where you are. You have to actually move forward, right? If you have a desire, connect what the action step is next for you to manifest that desire. Because it just doesn't happen with you sitting here thinking about what it is you want. You actually have to take steps. Aries, really, that energy's bold and it takes risks and it's, forward momentum. So, what is it that you might need to do? And I would consider that first, right? What is it that I would need to do to connect to my highest desires? Because both Venus and Mercury are retrograde still. So, it's not necessarily the best time to take that next step. Or if you're going to take next steps, take them carefully. But it certainly is a time to be strategic, maybe, or think about what it is that next step looks like, right? Um, so I could say a lot more about that. Let me know how you guys are feeling about that. Now, then on Saturday, Venus retrograde conjuncts the sun in Aries, and this is the theme of rebirth of desire. It is a heart illuminated by fire, right? This is a very powerful transit, and it is what we call cazimi in astrology. And cazimi is whenever a planet comes within a degree of the sun. It is we call it in the heart of the sun. It's actually an Arabic word that means in the heart of the sun, and it symbolizes a moment of purification, revelation, and renewal. So that powerful moment is tomorrow, right? As we are moving through the weekend. And Venus cazimi, or Venus conjunct the sun, is another way to put that, is marking the exact midpoint of her retrograde journey. Just as it does when Mercury conjuncts the sun, it marks that halfway point. It is the seed point then of a new Venusian cycle. Thus, the reason this part of her cycle is called inception, where the new birth is occurring, right? Where the new idea is taking shape or the new action is about to happen. And Venus cazimi in Aries is not necessarily a gentle romantic Venus. This is a Venus that's in more warrior mode, right? She's rebirthing her identity as a fiercely authentic, sovereign, creative force. You, right? You are birthing your identity as a fiercely authentic, sovereign, and creative force. Now, where that's taking place in your chart is going to tell us more about where that's happening in your life. But I bet everybody is feeling a little amped up right now about new beginnings, about, new directions and things like that. In Aries, Venus wants freedom, boldness, truth, leadership in love, and leadership in value systems. She's really reconnecting with the heart of who she wants to be, of who she is, of what her values are, what her value is. You're right. And in place of her, you can put the word I for you, right? For you. The Kazemi is like a cosmic heart reset. And it's what matters, or what matters most now is how we align with that. How do we align our fire, our instinct, our true self with the energies of the direction we want to move in? And that realignment is going to be different for everybody, right? But it is this big reset energy. Now, this Cazimi begins a whole new Venus star point, and that star point is now in Aries. You'll notice on the calendar, in the Pleiadian-Earth calendar, you see the star and you see the heart. Both of those refer to Venus. The Venus star point tomorrow will be starting in Aries. If we needed more Aries energy, right? If only we had more Aries energy. And the heart tells us that it's in a new cycle. And a part of that comes from this book here, The Light of Venus. If you want to read more about each of those cycles, by Adam Gainsbourg. And I did have another book sitting there, but it's not there right now. And this cycle then is so very potent because of that Aries star point change. You know, if we think about this whole Venus cycle right now and where we are in it as another planting of a seed, right? Something new for what love, self worth, and creativity will look like for you over the next 19 months, because the bigger Venus cycle is 584 days, 19 months, right? And if you're planting a seed now, then it unveils itself or gets revealed more over those next months. And here's an inner guidance tip in this respect. What's being illuminated now may feel raw, it may feel real, and even rebellious, but it's the truth your heart has been waiting to speak or to bring up. So the potency of this energy right now is, off the charts, right? We have so much Aries energy and more to come, right? More to come with a solar eclipse in Aries next week. And the day after that, a Neptune move into Aries for the first time in 165 years. So big things still on the horizon for Aries. And this is an initiation portal. We're all walking through something new. Something new is being birthed through us. We chose to be here on the planet at this time. So, what is it that we are birthing? And Venus merging with the sun in this position is a reawakening of the sacred feminine in her wild, more instinctual form. I bet over the next 19 months, we're going to see more women movements or more of the divine feminine expressing herself, those goddess energies through Ceres, through Pallas Athena, through Eris, through the Black Moon Lilith. Um, Reawakening something really deep within us in conjunction with Venus and the moon, right? This reimagining of the world and bringing more through the zodiac, reimagining the zodiac and bringing it more into balance. And Aries burns away the inessential. So it's fire, it's hot, it burns hot. So what's rising now is pure and potent desire, and it's coming up from the soul level, the soul of the planet, the soul of the cosmos, and of course, your own individual soul. And this isn't just about love, it's about what you're willing to stand for. What are you willing to stand up for? And I have a sort of funny story about this because I'm not typically an activist kind of person. Even though I have Aries on my 10th house and I seem like I'm very active and activated, I usually will say what I mean and I will share my opinion when asked. But over this last week, there has been something really interesting happening. I live on an island, and at the tip of the island, way, another mile down from where I live, is a camp. And it is a campfire council camp. So it's like the campfire girls and so forth, camp. And in the state of Washington, a law was passed that said students needed to spend more time in outdoor education. And so a lot more kids have been coming to this camp. And the camp had put out a permit they wanted to add to the buildings on the camp, which everybody, including me, thought that's not necessarily a good idea because I think what they're doing is preparing for growth, and that means more traffic. We only have a 2-lane road, and it's a 25-mile-an-hour zone that everybody flaunts, right? They're all going 35, 40 miles an hour down these roads, and I could just see this becoming, more problematic. It's already hard if you're a bike rider or a walker in the summer because so many cars are coming and going from the island. And I actually stuck my nose into this fight. And I responded with an email and thought later, what are you doing? I try to stay out of those kinds of things because it ends up, you become the mark for everybody else's opposing viewpoint, right? It gets very personal. And I wasn't personal. I'm just saying, hey, right, look at this. This out of their own mouths, they're saying, that they've already doubled the camperships. And now, if you're going to make more room for more campers, what do you think is going to happen? And yeah, so activism has it's a double sword, right? A double-edged sword because you cannot control what other people are going to respond or how they're going to respond to you or how they're going to react to you. So, one of the things that we are having to be willing to do is to take that stand, but also just sort of be the screen door for all of the yuck that can come back at you from that, right? Because again, you cannot control what other people say or do. So, what is the fire in your own heart asking you to honor, right? If you have a voice, this will be the time when you need to use it. Just try to use it in a way that isn't going to be, uh, defensive, that isn't going to be accusatory, isn't going to be personalized to someone, but also know that even though you may hold yourself to the highest integrity in how it is that you speak to a situation or how you stand up for yourself, there's still going to be the potential for those other people to come back at you with their crassness or with their ugliness. You just have to let that roll off your back. So, what brave new truth are you willing to live from and take a stand from? All right. All right. Now, on Sunday, the sun in Aries is going to be in a sextile to Pluto. So Pluto, Venus, and the sun, they're the three this weekend, right? That we're playing with. And this is about activating the power within. Changes here. What will you do about it? Right? The the key to all of this is change is upon us, and it doesn't always look pretty. Some things, are activated and it's looking positive, and then that's followed the next day by some horrible, terrible thing that is about to be thrust upon us. So we have to be willing to stand up and take our, use our voices. And now, over the weekend, with the sun in Aries in the sextile to Pluto, we have bold, sort of raw life force energy, right? These two coming together like this makes a harmony between the sun's light and the sun's boldness in Aries with Pluto's transformational energy in the sign of Aquarius. It wants action, not theories, and it leads from instinct. I'm not saying that's a good or a bad thing, but just be watchful for that. And the sun in Aries is the zodiac initiator, right? And in this case, the equinox energy here is still fresh, amplifying the themes of this new cycle, this new identity, and this need for courage to move through the times that we live in. And Pluto is the deep evolutionary force here. And in Aquarius, it's reshaping collective systems, technology, community, justice, and power dynamics. We see all of that being in flux at this point in time. And it's shaking the foundations of the old and seeding the futuristic, soul aligned structures that we need to move into the new era that we're at. And the sextile is a supportive alignment between the two planets. So the sun, which is our personal will, and the collective transformation Pluto are linked in a harmonizing flow. This isn't gentle energy. This is not gentle at all. It is more constructive pressure, like we're feeling pressurized or pressured to move through something, to change something. It's like the universe is saying, here's the door. Will you walk through it? Right? Open the door. Will you even open the door? Right? That's where we are. So this is a giant go sign. I wish I had Tam's go sign, that green one that says go. And change is already underway. It's already upon us. Resistance is futile, to speak Borgish, but conscious engagement is empowering. So it's not just accepting the changes. It's looking at those changes and how they fit in with the bigger dynamic. And are you willing to stand up and fight for what it is that you want, for what is right in for you, right? And the real question then becomes, what are you going to do about it? And where are you being called to take bold, soul aligned action, right? For whatever reason, I was called into, creating more of a havoc of on the island by sending out that letter. Um, but here's the good that came out of it. It forced the camp directors, I don't wanna say that my letter forced it, but it caused them, the reaction from them or response from them was to send all of us a very detailed email about what their plans are and how many children they expect and how they plan to get people in and out of there easier and, with less traffic. So it was very detailed. So sometimes taking the stand, even though you think, that what you're saying is, "I'm against you doing this," can turn around and say, okay, but we have this strategy, we have this plan in place, and this is what we're after. And it was really beautiful to watch that from the distance, right? At first, I was like, all my dander up, right? I got to get this sent out to everybody. All right. Anyway, so ties to the weekend storyline. Then this whole storyline is Venus rebirthing her heart's desire. You could be the embodied Venus rebirthing your heart's desire. Pluto clearing space for the transformation, right? What do we got to let go of in order to allow this transformation? And now the sun says, lead with it, make your move carefully, strategically, because we still have two retrograde planets. So this is a time to own your own power, to speak your truth, and act with courage, even in the face of adversity, even if it feels daunting, even if it is confusing as to, well, how do I assert my power in this situation? So, what truth can you no longer ignore that you must speak to or that you must take action on, right? That question keeps coming up. So, this weekend's astrology and the human design energies are inviting us to awaken and to embody our truth and to take aligned action. It's spirit in motion, right? Spirit in motion. So, I invite you to sit with this question over the next few days. What am I ready to say yes to? What am I ready to say yes to? And when you feel it, take it on. Be brave, be courageous. Take an inspired step toward it, right? If you don't take any steps, you don't go anywhere. Nothing changes within you. Change is happening all around you, but you get stuck in the past, right? So the universe has cracked the door open. Uh, you don't have to know everything before you take a step. You just have to walk through the door, right? Or even just open the door, right? All right. Questions. How's everybody doing out there? Gosh, I got done a little early here this morning. Colleen, good morning to you. I'll see you later today. Tom, I say Kazemi and you say Kazemi. Let's call the whole thing off. Okay. Sing around the campfire. Join the campfire, girls. It's a private camp. Well, that's a whole nother issue here on the island, right? There are two camps, and we, as residents, are not allowed to use those camps. Like in the winter when there's nothing going on, or even in the spring, most of the camp stuff happens in the summer and early fall. Um, we're not allowed on their properties. It's kind of sad. We used to be, but then, some people do things that are terrible to the property. They do damage, and then we all pay the price for it, which is exactly what happened here. Sunday's energies and transits are calling for discernment too. And indeed, that is always true. That's a big lesson I think that we're learning, um, all of us, right? With that last Virgo eclipse, right? One of the things about a Virgo eclipse would be to really see things for what they are and to be very discerning about what next steps you take. And of course, we have more Virgo eclipses on the horizon as the whole thing is shifted to Virgo Pisces. So we'll have more lessons around discernment. So great for that reminder, Tom. Okay, so I have about 9 minutes. Let's do a couple of card readings. And there are two decks that jump out at me that I want to use this morning. One is the Psychic Tarot by John Holland, and the Soul Coaching deck by Denise Lynn. And I'll pull two cards for us for the weekend. And let's see here. So, the Psychic Tarot Oracle deck. I've only used this a few times, really, but I see a card that wants to come out. Recognition and reward. Interesting. And this deck has a book that goes with it that's really set up in different sections. So I actually have to find the page number. So one moment here. 3 fertility, recognition and reward, 77. Here we go. I probably should take the time to get to know this deck a little bit better. All right. So here's what the card looks like. It's card number 3, and the card says recognition and reward. You see the spotlight shining on the guy there. A reward for a job well done is what this card represents. It's a time of recognition for a completed project, hard work, skill, expertise, and craftsmanship. These abilities are now being honored, but don't forget to also pay homage to yourself. Pat yourself on the back. You deserve it. This card also comes forth to represent a family or a group of people coming together, all of whom are aiming and striving toward a common goal. Accept the help that's being offered. More possibilities are in the works, so be sure to lay a solid foundation from your past achievements, and this will help you be ready for the next opportunity. In addition, this card is a reminder to take care of your physical body, right? That's where the earth is sitting in the gate of the physical body. After all, it's what carries your soul around in this material world. Perfect. Perfect, perfect. Recognition and reward. And again, that's the Psychic Tarot by John Holland. And let's do a soul coaching card. All right. These are colorful cards. By the way, for those of you who joined us yesterday for the webinar on the Astrology New Year, I have downloaded the video. I will get that edited and out to everybody today. Ooh, the card is Voyage. Look at this. Doesn't that evoke setting a sail on a new adventure, a new journey? Voyage. Okay. Now let's see what that card's about. Well, we could guess. Oh, and it's card number 51, which is the 6th. And the 6th is a very powerful intuitive card or number. And the card meaning is a journey is coming. Rather than staying in a safe harbor, let your sails unfurl to the wind. The universe absolutely knows, cherishes, and protects you as you ride the currents of your life. Your soul wants you to know this. Your life is a spiritual voyage, and it isn't always what it seems. There have been no wrong turns. Every adventure and misadventure was a part of this course. You're a sacred traveler on a pilgrimage to your soul. There's always a deeper meaning to your life's journey than what appears to be on the surface. Even when you're sailing through dark waters and stormy seas, if you allow yourself to feel it, you'll know that you're always seen, loved, and cherished by the universe, the creator, and your angels. I love it. And the affirmation for this card says, I am safe and loved no matter where I am. Hmm, Voyage. Very cool. Okay. Well, I'm done a little bit early today. I will see you on Monday, the last full week of March, if you can believe that. Next week I'll be seeing you Monday, and then on Wednesday, Tam will join me to talk about what's coming up for April, and also I'll be here on the 28th, the last Friday of the month. So you'll see me 3 times next month or next week. And if you have any questions about today, please reach out and let me know. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a great weekend. Bye.